right, so this is going to be a video on Unit 6, Topic 1, SLT 4, using z-scores to find the area under the normal curve. To complete this, obviously, you will need your worksheet. You will also need a normal probability curves table. So here you go. So those are the two things you need. You also will need a calculator, but we're only using our calculator for basic arithmetic. So if you would like to just use a, little handheld one, that's fine. You don't need a fancy graphing calculator. So the first thing we are going to do with this problem set is we are going to notice that we are finding the z-score. So before I even read the question, I want to just review that our formula for z-score is to take our data point x, subtract the average, and divide it by the standard deviation. If you're not familiar with these two symbols for average and standard deviation, another way you can write this formula is x minus, and then this is another symbol for average and another symbol for standard deviation. So now that I have all my tools, I have my formula, I have my curve, let's go ahead and get started. It says, a company makes a mean monthly income of $20,300 with a standard deviation of $3,200. In one given month, the company makes $29,500. Find the z-score. Well, this $29,500, that's our x value, because that's like our data point. This $20,300, that's our average, or you could write it like this. And then our $3,200, that's our standard deviation, also looks like this. So here we go. Find the z-score. Z equals x, 29,500 minus the average divided by the standard deviation. Okay. So I'm going to grab my calculator, and when I type that in, I get 2.875. Now, I want you to notice that when we look at this table, the values in the table only go to 2 decimal places. We're going to talk again about reading this table as a review. So I don't want to go to 3 decimal places. I want to make this 2.88, and that's going to be the z value I'm going to work with for this problem. So number 2 says, assuming the company's monthly income is normal, what percent of the time does the company make more than this amount? Whenever I'm doing a normal curves problem, I like to draw a sketch. Woo, you do not have to be an artist to do this. Mine is not symmetrical. And I remember that the average here is 20,300. And 29,500 is more than average. So I just pick a random point and I just kind of drop it above average. What percent of the time does the company make more than this amount? Let me grab some colored pencils. All right, we'll pick a blue, a green. Let's see, I want a red. All right, so we're going to color this in green. This is really what we're looking for. More, when it says make more than this amount. Less than this amount, we're going to color it in this nice blue. So I want you to pay attention to these 2 sides that we've colored in on our curve. Because now when I go to look at and I want to remember that this point right here is a z value of 2.88. When I go to look at this table, what does this shading look like? Does it look like the blue or does it look like the green? Looks like the blue. So when I go and look up 2.88 in the table, it's going to give me the probability of earning less than. So let's go ahead and take a look. To look up 2.88, I'm going to go to 2.8. And I'm going to go across to 0.08. You see, I already had it circled from before. So if I go to 0.08, I don't think you see all that at once, and I kind of go here at 2.8, and I have my fingers come and line up. Yep, you can see. 0.9980 is this area in the blue. So I know that this area here is 0.9980. Well, that tells me that less than is going to be 99.8%. what% of the time. So now the question is, how can I find this green portion, the more than, like what percentage of the time do they make more than this amount? Well, I want to remember I can remember one of two things. I can remember that the whole curve adds up to 100%, in which case I can do 100 minus 99.8, and I get, that's kind of hard to see, 0.2%, or I can remember that 100%, like if I'm going with the 0.9980, I could do 1 minus 0.9980. I get, oh, I should have done that. That's okay. I get 0.002. And then when I move my decimal over 2 places to turn it into a percent, I get they earn more than 29,500.2% of the time. All right. What percent of the time does the company make between 15,000 and 25,000? So again, I'm going to draw a curve. And I want to remember that the average is right here, 23. I'm not going to write it, I'm going to run out of space. I know that it's 20,300, and 15,000 is below average, and 25,000 is above average. Okay, so I'm going to color it in with my pen. I'm really looking for this area. What we're going to have to do is we are going to have to find the z-scores for 15,000 and 25,000. So if you feel comfortable with the procedure from number 1, my suggestion is that you pause the video and find the z-values. If you're not comfortable, watch me find it for 15,000 and then pause the video and try to find it for 25,000 on your own. We're going to take 15,000 because that's our data point, minus the average, divided by the standard deviation. Okay. So when I do that, I get negative 1.66 on my calculator. So again, if you followed me along, go ahead and pause the video and try the next one on your own. For 25,000, I'm going to do 25,000 minus the average over the standard deviation. Grab my calculator, type that in, and I get 1.47. So I want to remember that right here I have 1.47. Over here I have negative 1.66 as my z-values. All right, so remember my curve works to the left. So if I go to the left of negative 1.66, I'm going to get this red area. So let's look up negative 1.66. So for this, remember, we're going to have to go to the back. I have to go to negative 1.6. Here's negative 1.6. And 0.66 is 0.0485. So I'm going to make a note that this one has 0.0485. Okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to look up 1.47. But I want to remember that 1.47 is going to take this value and go all the way to the left. And what's going to happen is it's also going to include this red area. So let's look up 1.47 on our table. This would be another good time to pause the video and see if you get the same number I get. So here's 1.4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I like that number. 0.9292. So if I know that this whole green area is 0.9292, and I want to get rid of the red area, so I just have where I have shaded with the pen, I'm going to do on my calculator 0.9292 minus 0.0485, essentially like chopping off the red portion. And when I subtract that, I get 0.8807. So what percent of the time? It does say percent, so I want to make sure I report my, I'm running out of space, man. I want to give it a percent. Put a nice box around it. There we go. All right, last question. It says the company needs to make $16,400 in order to break even. How likely in a given month is the company to make a profit? So again, I'm going to start with a curve because it helps me visualize the situation. Oh, that one's bumpy. I think there's stickers on this clipboard. All right, so here's 20,300. And then here's 16,000, which is lower. So that's important to remember. I'm below average to break even. So let's take a second and talk. What does it mean to break even? It means that if I make $16,400, I don't lose money and I don't earn money. So where are the losers and where are the winners? The losing scenario is if I'm over here. If I'm in this, I'm going to lose money. Okay? Because I've made less than my break-even point. But if I make more than 16,400, I'm going to make money. Right? And that's what I'm looking for because I'm looking to make a profit. So the situation is when I go to my table, I'm going to get this value. It's always important to remember I'm always going to get the value to the left. So pause the video and find the Z value for 16,400. What you should have done was take 16,400 minus 20,300 and then divide that result by, just as a side note, a common mistake people have when they're doing their Z-values is sometimes they'll press enter or they'll type it all in at one step and press enter. Remember, you want to subtract first and then divide. Otherwise, if you're using a graphing calculator, if you don't press enter before you divide, it gets angry. Gives you the wrong answer. All right. So I get negative 1.22. So I'm going to go on my table at negative 1.22. Negative 1.22. Boop. 0.1112. And I know that this area right here is 0.1112. And so to find the make a profit, I'm going to, on my calculator, I'm going to do 1 minus 1.2. And that's going to give me an extra fun number, 0.8888, which means that they have an 88.88% chance to make a profit.